6 o'clock.
Yeah. Hey, boss.
Get ready to, just pulling my documents up. All right, folks, it's 6 o'clock. We do have a quorum. I'll open this meeting. This is the first workshop for the budget. We had some information given to us at the last Board of Supervisors meeting, and that's what we're working off of today. We do have an agenda. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
This is different today.
Yeah. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Morris?
Good Lord in prayer. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this beautiful day you blessed us with. Lord, just thank you for Mr. Monday's time here that he came to help us out. And Lord, we just lift up Eric as we welcome him and just in the middle of this budget season. Lord, just I know it's going to be a mess for him to step in on his first day. We just we welcome him and help him to jump right in, and we can get through this and come up with a great budget. Yes, I think it's really precious name.
Amen.
Speak about it.
Got you a seat at the table, Eric.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Welcome.
All right, is Pawn with us?
Stay right.
She,
Yes, I am.
you had questions from the previous work session? Joseph, you got some of your answers, but I think it was a few that were going to be answered today. You want to lead us off, Pawn?
Sure. Hello, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and welcome, Mr. Pollitt. Thank you very much for this opportunity to be with you again. I will share my screen. Thank you. Can you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Let me maximize. These are follow-up questions. Like Mr. Chairman has stated, several have been provided previously. This slide, this PowerPoint has included a comprehensive listing of all questions that I received from the last meeting. Thank you. All right, follow-up questions. I also have provided a copy of the Word document. Either you can use that or follow along with my PowerPoint. Thank you. All right, before I start with follow-up answers or questions, there were several updates to from the last meeting information that I had previously provided, and these are some of the update. 1.5% bonus for state-funded positions for the collected total of $43,449. The question was on EDA budget. I managed to do some research, came across a copy of the agreement between the county and EDA, but somehow it cannot be confirmed. So I reached Mr. Robert Smith, and he could not confirm either. So I proceeded to update based on his updated request. So that means based on FY25, however much be approved for EDA, FY26 will have the same information and request. Then $3 update for Crossroads Community Services. And then I remove contribution of $10,600 to Blackstone. Also incorporated a correct tax rate for airplane for FY25, instead of 1.5 is now 4.35. Remove use of profit funding, and then the legal notice also has been updated accordingly. A copy of the updated version has been shared. Thank you. All right, now we are on the questions that I received from a few weeks ago. Question number 1. Can you see the screen or is it too small?
See it right?
All of these questions are very good questions, and thank you very much, Mr. Easter. Question number 1, what is driving the large revenue increase in the following categories, A, B, C, D? So I'm going to go through the first one in the sequential order. Use of money property went up by 148% in the section of local revenue. So the table below will help clear up the question as to why we have a big jump between 1 year to the next. The way I updated estimated FY26 revenue estimate, I based on the current trend and the actual information to date. And as you can see on the table, I provided a 3-year going back to FY3 3-year information of the use of money and property. As you can see, the budget has been ranging between 22 to 50,000 on a 3-year average of 39,000. But the actual had ranged much higher, almost like 4 or 5 times bigger than the budget. With that, and also given the rising interest rate in that environment of FY25, the current year that we are in the future, the interest might come down. I did factor the effect of a potential rate decrease for FY26, and we'll continue to monitor the trend of the interest rate and the collection in this questionable area. So for now, that's how we came up with the number in question. Question 1B, it's same type of question, but on charges for services. That went up 69% as compared to FY25. It's the same type of trend that I have seen in the collection. But this time, I only provided FY24 to FY25. Once again, provided actual versus budget. It has been a consistent pattern of 13% between actual and budget. As you can see that the actual has performed very well. FY24, we had $240,000. And year to date for FY25, sorry, I did not specify that. For the 9 months of the year to date for FY25, we are already in a high end of close to $176,000. Still, again, much higher than than that year budgeted dollar amount. This slide here. Yes,
So can we just pause at that? That was, so you're moving to the next question, is that right?
This is still in support of the previous question.
Okay, then I'm sorry. I want to go ahead. I want you to finish that first one. Go, perfect. Sorry.
No problem. Thank you. This slide here, you're probably very familiar with it. Is a section extracted out from FY25, FY26 year-end estimate for the year, and going into local versus state versus federal. Let's focus on the purple highlighted. The summation of all of those several added up to be the number in question on the previous screen. If you look at the numbers are highlighted there, the very first number, charges from Parks and Rec, ranked the highest and the most. And if you look at year to date, again, we were at 176,000 already on that number. I did in 2 ways, check and bounce on that number. I might be on the high side, but one is based on year to date for FY25, and secondly, based on the trend we received in the past. In FY24, we were at $223,000. So today we exceeded the budget already. So I'm done with that question. I will move on to the next slide or the next question.
Did you have some questions?
I just want to summarize what I think my understanding is. So thank you. I think this is helpful. Clarify,
Yeah.
we start with why I asked the question in this area, first of all, and Todd and I've talked about some of this one. You know, this is really important, obviously, because it's revenue. But when you look at the total here, this is a very significant amount of revenue increase. Sorry, I'm trying to reconcile between the versions here, but you know, we're looking at approaching $1 million of additional revenue. So us getting confident in an additional $1 million of revenue is really important for us. So just that's the background and context. Here's what I take away from what you're saying, and I'd like you to just make sure you agree with my summary, is that you've gone back through multiple years and essentially we are coming in higher year after year, and you feel confident in adjusting these expectations that we've essentially been underestimating the revenue for these sources in the past. And you're just really setting them where you think is logical and realistic. And then you've just walked us through why it seems logical. And I would agree with you. I should kind of summarize that, particularly because this is important for our citizens too. Would you? Is that accurate from your standpoint?
Yes, sir. It's accurate based on what I have shared, I have done and presented tonight. Like I said, none of us know the future, even the short-term future. I will continue to monitor as each month pass to make sure that we stay on track on revenue. You're correct. Revenue is very essential to the way we plan to spend for our projects and our day-to-day operations. So the 1 million, to put in context, thank you very much. As we go through all the questions, and you will see, I have provided to where I could to help justify how I came up with $1 million higher, more so due to internal transfers as well. Let's go one question at a time, and then if you still have more clarification for me to provide, I'm here to make it clear for the board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask one question, please? What is
Sure.
the 1,059 for minerals that's estimated in for 26? Where is that coming from?
On the previous question, did I hear correctly?
No, the minerals. You've got estimated in $1,059.15 added to this year's budget as an estimate. Where are we getting that revenue from? The minerals. You got it line item 11011, department code.
11-0-1-1.
Was it in the
Let
slides?
me.
Yeah, it's in the slide.
Was it the previous slide?
So
The previous one? Okay, let me just go back.
Slide 2.
It's slide 5 from today, right?
I don't see the page numbers.
Well, I'm on slide
This
5.
is slide 2.
Yeah, go to
Are you
slide 5.
referring to 5?
What was the number, Todd? I got it.
It's 11011. One more slide.
We're
There you
here.
go. Yep.
Third line. up.
11011. 4 from the bottom. It's 1,059.15.
Oh, that is the actual collection from the treasurer's office.
From last
I
year?
did not estimate since I don't have a good sense of information. So I went with the actual collection and tried to be conservative on mineral. I did reach out to the elected official to ensure that I know what I'm doing. And that is indeed the collection that we have thus far. Based
All right,
on
thank
the
you.
cut-up then. Did I answer the question?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. Shall I proceed to the next question?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. All right, continue on the same question number 1, subsection C. Other revenue. Since the last time we discussed officially the estimate on the revenue for 26 and 25, the fire and emergency services reached out to Mr. Monday and I to make sure that we incorporate an expected increase on ambulance billing. And that is the number, 75K have been incorporated. And 2 more elements that we updated the revenue on the other is the vacancy saving from Sheriff's Office to help pay for their bonus and the some sort like COLA adjustment. So collectively, it's about $21,977. Not much, but it's some saving. And then we continue to look into between now and year end. And like I mentioned in the a few minutes ago, I incorporated approximately additional $16,376.08 to be precise. So to date, for that grouping, we have about almost $807,000. So it's a sizable amount relative to the past. If you don't have questions there, I will move on to the last subsection of number 1.
I'm sorry, I only have one question on that one. The sheriff's vacancy one. So how I don't understand how we're counting that as revenue.
Good question. That number
just don't
was
understand.
provided by the sheriff's office.
Uh-huh.
What they did, they counted number of vacancies that we have available, including lapses, and by the fact that we don't fill the positions during
Right.
X number of period of months for the current fiscal year, and then they estimate how much that transfer into the saving.
Oh, okay. So it essentially come from FY25 into you're kind of using it as it kind of becomes carryover into 26. Is that a
That's how I understood that to be.
okay? No, that makes sense then. I'm sorry. I apologize. We're probably just looking through so many things so quickly. Okay, I'm fine then.
No problem. If I need to slow down, let me know. If
No,
I
I'll
talk
ask
too
questions
fast,
when you-
let me know too. Thank you.
I'm good now.
Any
Thank you.
questions are good questions. All right, landfill investment use of money. I truly appreciate this question, and to show that I truly appreciate the board questions, you really pay attention to all the details. That helps me significantly. I don't know if you realize, if you look at years past, this number was commingled and reported together as part of interest earned or use of money, but did not clearly separate it out as to how much from each fund. Fund is just a term to help track just our banking account, saving account, or checking account. In accounting term or budget term, it's more fund number. At the end of the year, we roll everything all into general fund. This is part of general fund, but is part of a different fund number. Okay. Does it make sense?
Yeah, actually, I think that's an example of a good improvement then, because if we want to use the landfill revenue for CIP, then to understand exactly how much interest we're earning off of that, then we can make specific decisions on that and not have it getting, like you said, commingled with everything else. So, okay, I think it's a
Thank
good
you,
example
sir.
of improvements you're making. Okay, thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome. That's the purpose of my being here, to make sure that I improve the process, make sure everything speaks loud and clear, being transparent. And because we all are really in need of revenue, so I look at everything and anything to make sure I can find revenue to help support our operation.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, very good. So far, so good. Question number 2, 1,600 from profit. If you look at last year, we used at least 50,000. So even though I can justify, since I don't have, specific details for proffer from developers, so I just went ahead and cut out the funding of 1,600. The subsection, the sub-question of that question number 2 is how much we have in proffers. I ran a report for that proffer fund. It appeared that as of this morning, from what I saw, it was at 169,000 and some change. And the number, is right there on the answer, $169.80.95. And I saw we also collected like 3,200 in addition to that. So no spending quite yet. And I decided not to use that fund without specific requirements. Okay. Excellent question on that. And question number 3.
Can you pause? Sorry, we can just pause between questions for a second. So that makes sense, Eric, as you're moving forward. So obviously you see it's a large, for us, it's a large amount of money sitting there that we have nothing currently against. We can only use the proffer money then for very specific things. But as an example, we've got, a number of our CIP budget items would qualify that we could use the proffer money for. We could offset that. That would help us significantly with other things in the future. For example, the sidewalk project should qualify easily for that. So I'm not going to make a suggestion at this late notice, at least this late in the game, that we change it for this year's, for the budget right now. But I think it would be a good place to get up to speed on what's eligible to be spent in that proffer fund. And then even throughout the year, remember, budget's just a plan. You could still change and get us some savings later throughout this budget cycle and say, we're going to spend that from proffer money instead of the general funds or wherever else. We could grow it. So I think she's fine for what she's done, but I think that's a good opportunity for you to spend some time. All right.
I'll look into that.
Thank you, Pon.
You're welcome. Very good. I really enjoyed this session. I learned a lot from the board. Question number 3, I also love this question. It shows again that Mr. Easter did not miss anything, which I like. And I learned a lot from your process and your review comments. So this is not a new concept. It has been around for years. It's just that at Amelia, we have not consistently used. Nothing wrong with that if we want to use consolidated basis. But in order to facilitate year-end reporting and balancing by fund, I prefer to do the recommended approach, meaning we transfer in, we transfer out. We need to indicate audit trail where the money is coming from and where the money is going to. So that's why you see a lot in and out very clearly this year, and by fund to show how each fund is balanced out between expected spending and expected incoming funds. And again, we have 3 subsections: landfill, capital projects, and EDA. All right, I know it's kind of like intimidating, but it's not. I can summarize in a nutshell. Like I said, it's not a new concept. It's something that has been around. We just have not consistently applied. Even though we have not done yet, when I read a copy of the resolution, it did clearly mention how much coming in, how much is going out. Over here, I just presented in the clear template in support of the budget, so that it will be transparent and clear in black and white in front of us. So, and then the first table is from a copy of the audited financial for FY24. I made a reference of a note disclosure and show how we have consistently been doing that and has been in the best practice, and also in accordance with general accepted accounting principle. And since budget, even though it's a legal document, it's also in compliance with the same basis. And that's why it's essential that we recognize transfer in, transfer out, and specify clearly where the money is coming from. And a section below or the table below just show, I show like, the counterpart, the in and the out for each fund, like sanitary district and so on and so forth. Any questions there? Good. All right, question number 4, actually, sorry, I put on the left and then did I go from left to right due to space issue. The EDA, like I mentioned in the outset, I have revised by, since I could not get a confirmation from the EDA in charge director, board members. So I went ahead and reached out to Mr. Smith to have a further update. So now the 30%, not the 30%, the 30K has been adjusted down to be consistent of how much we had done in the past, meaning the FY25. So it's all good there. So it was interesting. Go
You
ahead.
adjusted the 30,000, that's to the 26,250?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay,
From 30,000.
right. Okay,
30 to 36, yes. But it's not our money anyway, but in order for us to go ahead and pay ahead in advance for them, at the end of each quarter or year end, we ask for reimbursement back from EDA. So it's more like they spend their own fund. Okay?
that's why you're seeing the transfers back in. That's what you're explaining.
Yes.
So they do.
Yeah.
Okay, so I see the transfer in, obviously. Where's the out go? So I know what you're saying, that they're corresponding, but is there one place that I see the 26,250 going out, or it's just used in multiple places? Like their costs will be, for example, maybe it's insurance, it's used in a lot of different places.
Yes. There are so many ways of doing that. In the beginning, with the interest of time, I just used one aggregate number. And
Okay.
then before this meeting, I separated them out by line items. It could be for like utility, for electric, for any expenditures that are needed for the operation.
That's fine.
So,
So the expenses are broken out in multiple places, one aggregation for the incoming transfer. Okay. I'm
correct,
fine.
correct. Thank you.
Well, I
Very
think
good.
I think your combined answers then to 3 and 4 are very good and explain why. I know there's still a lot of challenges we have, and I'm not done, by the way, explaining some challenges that I have probably for this budget cycle, but I think they're good explanations and progress about how that's just it. You are making progress in cleaning up a lot of things, and it's more than just getting it compliant with accounting principles, which is a good thing to do, don't get me wrong, but it's actually generating revenue. I use air quotes because it's kind of funny money, but the fact is, in the past, it's been there, it's coming in, but if we're not accounting for it in our budget, then we look like we don't have the money, and then we need to go and raise taxes, et cetera. So my point is, I'm very complimentary of it, and it therefore starts to help you understand why, even though expenses are going up a lot, we're not in a bad situation. It's because you're just getting things more accurate. Okay.
All
Those
right.
help a lot.
Well said. It's a good summary. Thank you.
All right.
All
I'm good.
right. Very good. All right. We are done with question number 4. Question number 5. What are the positions requested by county departments that we have not funded? So I have gone through, look at my notes, and have summarized compensation along with the related benefits for the new asks that we have cut down based on the directive that I received from the interim county administrator, the former. And then below is just to show what were the requests, and then relative to the proposed and a difference between the two sets of information.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. The rest of the questions are more non-departmental budget. From question 7 to 10 with additional bonus on section number 10. Question number 6. What is driving the 30% increase in the electoral board budget? So indeed, due to the part-time request of 27,200, that was the driving force of the increase. So from FY25 budget, I try to be precise, legal notice. So keep in mind there was some discrepancy between the legal notice and the adopted budget. So what happened is that in totality, everything Pick and tie agree between the legal notice and the adopted budget, with a few exceptions that somehow before the adoption, a lot of updates were made, and I did not do 100% due diligence. I just look at in totality and the major ticket items. And then that's what drove a significant increase if you look at pre-correction versus post-correction and compared to FY26. But indeed, that is the driver, the 27,200.
That's fine. I'm fine with 7 and 8 too. You can skip 1 to 9. I think that
Okay.
7 and 8 are very straightforward.
Very good. The what is left in the upside original contribution line? So this number will be increased by $10,597. Why? Because I remove Blackstone for $10,600 and adjusted $50 for the mental health on Crossroad extension services. So any questions there? It's a straightforward in terms of comparing what was requested versus what the board recommended.
What did we take out of Crossroads? I don't remember that.
It's just, for some reason, it was off by $3, I guess is what you're saying.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Paul, I understand what your answer is. I understand your answer. I'm just saying, which agencies are they, though? Like, so I'm having trouble
Actually,
reconciling between which agencies get their own codes now and which ones are getting grouped into that regional organization.
I don't know if you recall, I have provided a copy of the Excel file that show exactly what organization made up to that leftover amount. If you don't have it, let me know. I will go ahead and provide that after the meeting. I have that handy. I just did not pack that with me to the offline process so that I can present.
Yeah, if you don't mind sending it, maybe I'm just missing it. I apologize. Yeah, and maybe I'm sure you've sent it. We had a lot of papers. If you would send that back, I'd appreciate it. Thanks.
Sure, let me make a note. Okay.
See it right. Okay. It's only showing.
So you're asking what was cut out of that 28,000? Is that your question?
That's only 704 this year. So
Hey, so what we're trying to do, David, is so you can look at some of them and you can tell. So like we now know mental health equals what we're sending to Crossroads. And area agency on aging, we know that's Piedmont Senior Resources. Community colleges, we know that's Brightpoint. You know, we can go through it and a lot of them have a one-to-one line, but then you've got this grouping, regional org contributions. It's everything that's left and you just can't tell what's in it. Well, in fiscal year 25, we had budgeted $58,712.
Yeah, it was 27 before.
And now it's down to just 2,704. I just want to make sure I understand what's the 2,704, because I can't find.
We need that sheet that shows all of it. Is that something we can get?
Well, and I think.
Yes, sir.
I think if you could just take that sheet now and add maybe like one more column that says in the budget, you find that, listed as this, like you'll find that we call it free clinic for of Powhatan. In the budget, it's called this. Yeah, I think Benji's right. It's called a key. How do we translate them between what we know the agency as and what the budget row is?
I have that available. I shall provide to the full
Perfect.
board a copy of that again. And then I will do a crosswalk in terms of how is it labeled in the budget to facilitate the reading. Thank you. Excellent
Perfect.
point.
You wouldn't believe how many questions we get throughout the year that are exactly around that. How much money do you spend on such and such an agency, such and such? That's one of the most common questions I feel like I get, because it's money that technically kind of feels like it goes outside the county. So citizens appropriately ask a lot of questions about what are you sending outside the county. Thank you, Pawn.
You're welcome. All right, now I understand the purpose of that. And then the last question, car related, and now that amount, as I noted at the bottom of the page, is no longer 59,350 because I removed 10,600 from Blackstone. If you refer to the table down below, the third organization from the top. Okay. And a question that I heard earlier, or comment I heard earlier that I did not mention, I had not yet come up with
Regional.
a calculation for these organizations because I wanted to wait until everything is a
would
done
think so.
deal.
Where's that?
Okay, sorry.
Are we good there?
Yeah, we were just finishing up on that question. Okay, apologize.
All right, over here, it's just more like to provide a comprehensive listing of the 358,000 that the board recommended for the year. And as I heard earlier, I will need to provide a column that show a difference between what they requested and what we propose in the budget. I will do that. I have done that, but I will be providing that specific information subsequently.
Not a difference of what they requested versus what we proposed, the difference of the names of the organizations versus
Right,
versus the like account name you have.
Yes.
Like they would go like in parentheses underneath of whatever.
Right.
These
A
departments. I got
crosswalk,
you.
okay.
Yeah.
I will do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Okay. I did make a note, but I did
fine.
not mention that. Okay,
That's fine.
no problem. Very good. And then note to table 2, the $3 that I mentioned earlier have been adjusted, but this table is a snapshot of how it was. So the third number is no longer 44,712. Now it became higher by $3. And a table on the right is pretty much a uniform system guidance from the state to help them or to facilitate their reading, their review, and their reporting to the General Assembly. So right there, every step of the way, we have specific requirement to follow. It's not required, but it's recommended.
Thank you.
You're welcome. That's all I have in terms of follow-up questions. I hope that helps.
It helped me a lot. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Very good. I know we are not at the CIP yet, and I will save that for the next session. But I can share what I have added as a bonus. I know there have been some talking and the staff has been trying our very best to come up the best way to balance the budget. There are many options. There are always three options. Either we increase revenue via tax increase, via increasing fees, or we cut down on our expenditures, which is very hard to do because everything is really to the bare minimum right now. Or we can use fund balance for our one-time items. And then down below is more like a recommendation listing of balancing activities. I have provided a penny tax rate impact for real estate, for personal property, and meals tax. I just put it there just in case you would like to reconsider. But anything else that you would like me to provide, please reach out to me or Mr. Poet or via him, and then I shall provide.
Okay, we were, actually CIP is on our agenda to speak about tonight.
Correct.
Before we
Um,
leave this sheet, what do we need to go over?
I got a question of how we're getting to, like last year, you're showing a $56 million budget. And then this year you're showing 60 million eight. And so are you, I'm trying to figure out how we got so high. So are you including the transfers like from the CIP or something like that
yes,
into the
sir.
budget? So we're actually counting the money twice.
Correct. You can say that.
Because we already had it. So you're counting it as
Yes.
revenue.
Yeah, but not I wouldn't say twice. We weren't really counting it before is the problem. You had it sitting in the account. You showed the expenses, but you never showed the money was coming back in. In some of those, like the EDA one that she was saying, like, so the expenses showed up all along, but nobody was showing that we grabbed the money back from the EDA. It's an example.
All right, but like if we take money from CIP, say we take $1 million from CIP to do a project, that increases our budget amount by $1 million on
Right.
this.
Right.
So you're counting the money twice though. It's, see, because now you're going, the people that will see we're showing a $61 million budget almost. So last year we had 49 million. Now this is just aesthetics. You're looking at 49 million last year to 60, almost 61 million this year.
12 million difference.
So that is,
Where did you see the 49 million?
That was my question.
that's what was advertised last year on our budget. 49 million, 304,
Well,
402.
but
But
I
that-
think if you look at the ad, the whole point was that wasn't right. It was.
Yeah, that
It
was
was actually
the 7
56
million error.
But we're counting money twice in a way. So it's no different in my personal life. If I have a money market account and a checking account, if I take it from my money market, put it in my checking account, it doesn't make me have more money. I'm just transferring funds. So to me, it shouldn't be shown as revenue to where it affects our dollar amount budget.
That's what I'm saying. It's not being counted twice. You didn't reflect the income at all before though. You only were showing that we were spending it. If it's in CIP and it's already been sitting there from before, then it was just in an account. You weren't showing that you're pulling it in at all. It's not double counted, but you didn't reflect that you were bringing it into this budget at all. I think like her example on that I asked the question on the sheriff is a good example too. It's the same kind of thing. The money if it's being brought from a previous year, or in the case of CIP you're talking about, it's sitting in an account. There's no way to bring it forward without it being revenue. But it's not twice in that same year. You didn't have that revenue showing in that year at all before. You had the expense showing, yes, because you have to end up with equal expense and income side. It's not twice, but it's not shown twice. In that same budget year, it's not shown twice.
And last year, we didn't really do any CIP, so it probably wasn't an issue last year. But evidently,
Actually,
$5 million.
Last-
$5 million.
The other transfers.
Yeah, it was a transfer for the radio system.
Yeah,
Well, this is why we've got written up by audits what, 3-4 years in a row now. It's because it hasn't been recorded correct. It hasn't been reported correctly.
so I'll
I'm-
be
so
clear.
I understand what you're saying. I'm trying to find a different.
yeah, but I want you
I'm
to
trying
be able to explain it to people is what I'm trying to do. That's what I'm trying to figure out. I understand what the premise is,
Yeah,
but how do you explain it so that they understand what it is? Because by looking at paper, when we advertise whatever this number is, we just look like we've got a $12 million increase in our budget. You know what I'm saying?
Can
Well,
I elaborate?
You only have,
Hold
you
on.
have to you can't compare to can't compare to that, to last year at all. You have to, the only thing you can accurately compare to is the restated FY 25. Because otherwise you're comparing apples and oranges. That methodology that shows the 49 is
Yeah.
not an equal methodology to this.
I agree with that.
So if they start and want a comparison there, you have to start and say, you can't compare that. Methodology is different. The only thing you can say is methodology was brought forward, made last year's the same as this year. So it's 56, last year, 56,441,000. It's now gone from 56,441 to 60,821.
Right.
So that amount of increase is up, and that's approximately then the increase in most of that amount is reflected in, I'll call it value increases. I mean, value from, you're not talking about, tax.
Yeah.
Assessments,
Yeah.
et cetera. And I think that is why, even though I said before, this is hard to make sense, but the more we talk it through, I'm like, okay, well, that actually does start to make sense to me, like, because I can see where $4 million difference comes through.
Han, do you want to elaborate on that?
Yes, sir. There are three things that I did differently this year. One, to make it correct or proper as relative to the budget presentation and budget basis. One, I'm going to come back to EDA. That's the simplest one to understand, and then we'll go over the remaining two different types that trigger the improper presentation of the past budgeting process. One, EDA, we spend money first, and then we collect back, get reimbursed for what we spent for EDA. But in the prior presentation, it never recognized that general fund got reimbursed for whatever we received back from EDA. So we significantly misstated the revenue for the cost recovery from EDA. It appeared that we funded them, but no, they are very self-sufficient and independent of us. It's just that we spend money first and then we collect later. So that's issue item number one that made this budget much different than any other years. Now, on a different note, we, in addition to EDA, which is a small component unit, we also have a much bigger component unit, meaning school board. They have their own grants from FED and state, but they only got 7 to 8 million appropriation from general fund to help fund the operations. So in any years prior to FY 26, the resolution is loud and clear saying that we, the county, has to appropriate and help pay for the school operation of, let's say, 7 million. Never reflected in the revenue for the school board that they are funded by the county of 7 million in the revenue section. We only show on the school board what they plan to spend, including the local funding portion. So with that said, I heard one of the board members said tonight that we had 49 million in total expenditure. That's not true, because we never counted the amount that we fund, and it became a local funding source for the school board in the operation. It was missing that portion, and the textbook portion of about 91,000. So the budget never balanced by 7.1 million. And then on top of that, every year, general fund subsidize or fund sanitary district between 400 to 500,000. That amount was never reflected as incoming or revenue for sanitary district. So therefore, there are a lot of issues in the prior presentation. Now coming back to one example that I heard tonight, let me see if I can do a good job in explaining it. Each fund is just like a member of the family. If you say you transfer from one bank account to money market or to a saving account, you're correct. It's owned by only you and you. So therefore, it's the same money owned to one person. But now let's turn it around to say you provide allowance to your children. Let's say you have only one child, to child A. So in order for child A to go and spend the money, he's going to say, he or she will say, hey, my dad gave me $100 once a week. By the end of the month, I should get $400. So let me wait until I get $400 revenue before I can go and shop for 400 outfit that is upcoming for my prom night, right? So therefore, to child A is a revenue. But the way we did things, we don't look at each member in the family. We look at collectively. So fund works the same way, function the same way. Each fund has its own purpose. When we recognize, we manage budget, it should look at vertically, whether we have enough money to spend the fund. And each department head is assigned and has been tasked to manage what the board had approved for them to spend. So in order to help fund further, some department heads would go out and look for more funding from fed or state, like the sheriff's office oftentimes does that. So therefore, we cannot mix sheriffs with treasurer's office or finance. If we look at each function as a separate function. I don't know if I made that more confusing or clearer.
Really, it just straightens up what the auditor says we've been doing wrong, or not been doing right for the last couple of years.
And as she said, it does put us in better financial shape because we weren't reflecting that money that is coming back in. And I think that explains why, it's a portion of what explains why we went through each year we'd go through and we struggle so much to like, okay, we can't get the budget to balance. And yet when you go through the year, you don't struggle every month like we're unable to pay the bills. What, if you're struggling that much to create a balanced budget, you would think every month you're going to be struggling, you're going to be a fine line. We would go through, we approve appropriations, we increase, and there's always money there. Well, it's because there was a lot of money unaccounted for in the revenue. So the downside of what she's doing, you get it right. There's not the amount of wiggle room that's left over. What you do have cushion though is we are doing better in this case of building back. I agree with you. We don't have cushion in the math, but we are building back into our general fund because we're not borrowing from the general fund to fund the budget. So there's a trade-off.
It comes back to not having no one over here in the finance department. We've been
Yes.
operating with a handicap for 2 years now.
I agree with you. Yes.
That's it in a nutshell.
And I don't know, it's frustrating when we have to keep working, and it's frustrating more for Paul probably than us, but it's frustrating because we have to ask a lot of questions. I get that. But yes, it's frustrating for the reason Dexter just said. I was leaving it. Yeah.
So actually, would you say a minute ago how we're doing it, but we're tracking it a whole lot better. I guess is the right word. We're tracking the revenue, the transfers.
Everything's getting cleaner.
Okay.
Very good. Either we can talk about, it's not coming to the end yet, but this is a timeline to keep in mind how we did it, when we did it for FY25, and when shall we do it for FY 26? If we are gonna go with this timeline, we have about a week to firm up and to do advertisement before we can proceed to the remaining steps. Now we can
All right,
get.
we got a few more things to go over before we get to that, I think, Tom. I think it's
No
a
problem.
few questions, but that is on the agenda. Hopefully we can get to a point tonight. But we got a few more things we got to discuss first, so.
Very good. Shall we move on to CIP?
We all good with this? I mean, do we have any more questions about this?
Okay, not surprising. Go right ahead.
All right. I'm not hearing.
Yes.
We'll move right on in. Let's slip on into the CIP.
Okay, in front of you is a listing of CIP that are all the projects that are included and funded in the proposed FY 26 budget. The top portion, the collective total of 4.4 million was coming from a recommendation list from Planning Commission. So that is narrowed down to FY 26 and excluding a few projects like like CTE for the school board. If you're good there, we shall proceed to talk about the bottom section, which I think
It's
where
not,
you would,
it's right here. It's nothing.
are you there? Any other questions?
Looks like it's a different number here.
You talking about this sheet, this sheet?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's just rough draft that linked to the planning commission. That's just a general list, basic more of the list.
Okay,
Okay, all right. That,
So we-
it's okay. That's, we can ignore what we tell us to ignore. Yeah.
so we can check off kind of what we're,
Okay. Thank you, Ashley.
okay, Paul.
Sure, I believe what Ashley had provided, it was a comprehensive listing that I came up with. And then it was after it was presented to the board came up, meaning Planning Commission board, they came up with a recommendation listing. That's what you have in front of you, 4.4 million. That is straightforward. If you need a background or narrative, that was provided maybe a few months ago, if I remember correctly. And the bottom section is more like one-time newly added projects for the year that were requested by each department along with the operations. When I read further after Mr. Monday and I met with each department head, we thought that it's more appropriate to move to where they should belong, meaning capital projects. So I used the accounting threshold of anything 5,000 and above is considered capital item, even though, you know, it can be bigger. But since we are up a small locality, so I use that theory for now, also to help facilitate the balancing of FY 26 challenging year. All right, so it's made up all of those items. I want to help clarify the IT maintenance service contract. It appeared to be like a contract for maintenance service that should not belong to CIP, but that is not a good label. I forgot to make a change there. The 131,000 is pretty much all necessary capital related software, hardware that is critical for the day-to-day operation for the Amelia County, including the replacement of laptop, anything that has been around for so long. And I think this is time we cannot defer anymore, and we need to really take a serious consideration of what was proposed by IT. If you need a comprehensive listing, I have that as well. Sean is very good in detailing and identifying item by item and department by department. Collectively, not much. It's about 380,000. And if you don't have any questions there, we'll move to the last item on the page.
One simple question here, I think. So someone had asked me about the expense line item for volunteer fire department, that it was down this year by $53,221. And now I see an exact $53,221 on this slide under VFD machinery equipment grant. So I'm reading into that, we really didn't reduce, you just moved that 53,221 from the general fund budget over here into CIP. Is that an accurate understanding?
That's accurate. And also one piece of fact that I did not go over. So the fire department planned to apply for a grant to help fund for this, hopefully for the full amount. And they are looking hard at the potential grant application or writing grant to help fund this machinery and equipment. So stay tuned on that. And I don't know where we are in the process yet, because the like any grants, you have timeline to stick by. And I believe the portal part has not been open yet. So because this is more for FY26 and the budget has not been approved yet either, and the year for FY25 also has not been completed. So more than likely, some of this will be funded and we will get some funding back.
Okay, wonderful. That's great, because that answers a question that I had from citizens. So that helps. Thank you.
Which will kind of feed back into what we just discussed. It's some revenue coming in from somewhere else. So, yep.
Yeah. Very good.
Any more questions on that middle section? Okay, lastly, it's a big word there. I say use of capital fund balance to help fund newly added one-time items, collectively added to be $830,747.18. So driven by three main functional areas. So one of them is non-departmental social services. There was an error made in FY25, not by the social services, because the director for that year during budget time was not there to have review. So if you're aware, some CSA or social services, it's not fully funded, and the local portion was not budgeted for. And that translated into approximately year over year in the neighborhood of 180 to 200,000. So this year we ensure that we have a proper local funding budgeted for. So that is amounted to a quarter of the 830 one time. Once we do things right this year, going forward, we should not have that major impact, because that's a big item as well. And
We're funding social services out of CIP to make up the difference.
Okay, maybe I did not make myself clear. $830,000 is the total that we use from CIP to transfer into general fund to help balance the budget. In order to help answer that, what I did, I look at, okay, how much in general fund we are short by and what drove the deficit up that much after all said and done. So 3-4 things that came up that help explaining the driver of the deficit out of bounds by that much. And I know the way I said it made it sounded like, hey, we use CIP fund to help fund the operation. So let's stay with EMS startup costs and any equipment that is necessary as one time. Big ticket item as FY26 that we didn't have sufficient funds, so we used the CIP fund that has been committed to fund the big ticket items. So that add up to be about that much.
I want to know what's in this. I just want to know what's in $830,000. So you can send that to me in an email would be great. Whatever it is, whether it's social services or EMS or equipment or whatever it is, that's all I need to know, please.
Sure, I will do that. I will show how we came up with that number and what major items drove that. That includes also the EMS contract on option 3 for emergency services of over $200,000. So that's another quarter of that number.
Yeah, we need to look at that. I need an answer on that. But other than that, that's fine. I'll shut my mouth now. We can move on to wherever we're going.
Okay.
Right, and any other questions on that?
I'm not seeing any right now. I think we're fixing to have a little discussion on CIP.
Yeah, we need to, yeah.
I know y'all, we just seen this, but is there anything that's popping off? I want to throw out an idea to you.
That's what I want to hear. Your idea that we discussed. I like it.
I've sat on the CIP committee to the planning commission for a very long time. And they come, department heads come, justify what they're asking for, their wants and their needs. And then we sit there and rank them. And then it comes to us and we sit here and we rank them again. I'd like to put more focus and more trust in the department heads. And I would like to come up with a number that we feel comfortable spending on CIP. And do it that way. And let the departments, I mean, they prioritize their stuff. But have them actually run their department. I would say we funded 75% of all these projects. 75% of the CIP projects. Send that money to the department heads. And it's got to be tracked. It's got to have projects. We're not just going to give it to them. Have their list of projects, and as they check them off, it's their decision
Which project?
on which project is important. I mean, they tell us what project, but ultimately it's their decision what project.
So is it?
They have-
Percentage of their budget?
No, they have 10 projects. They have 10 projects they want to do. We give them enough money for 7. They pick their 7 out of those 10 and do it. We know exactly what they're going to do. They're the head of the department. They make their decision on what's the most important thing. I like it. That's what I told David before. I like it.
That's not my question. Do you break it down by like percentage, like the school has 50%, they would get 50% of CIP money? How are you breaking down the?
I think it's gonna take probably a year or two to figure out. I think in the early parts of the budget cycle, we probably ought to look at CIP a little quicker and figure out what we got in CIP, what is available to spend on projects, and maybe make that decision a little earlier and let them prioritize their projects. What I would like to add to kind of in the little icing on the cake, if you will, have the department heads the ability to carry over a fund. If they decide they don't want to do this one right now, they can carry over for 2 years. But after 2 years, you got to spend it. If they come up with a project, bigger project that they feel is more important than one they listed,
they can save money towards it.
You can
For
save
2
money
years.
for 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
I haven't been a big fan of earmarking money because it grows and you earmark it, you earmark it forever. But I think if we put a 2-year limit on it, that was just an idea I had.
But I told you, I liked it. I think,
Less hectic,
huh?
less hectic and heavy.
Yeah,
And
Oh,
I,
you're not micromanaging.
What they need their money. for,
Exactly.
Than we do. I mean, we can sit here and say,
Well, I don't-
that sounds.
But-
Any county around us that's, I'm gonna say micromanaging to this level of detail. I mean,
Yeah.
this is, we're getting down to the tiny stuff. I mean, we're talking, somebody, look at this, we're approving $15,000 for batting. I mean, this is.
Yeah.
This is not an effective or efficient use of time.
Correct.
it would probably rewrite the whole capital improvements process.
Well, that's what I think you need to do. I think you need to take the concepts you just talked about and you need to actually write up, like, what's the process, the detail, et cetera. Because I assume you're not talking about changing it for this cycle, you're talking about for next cycle.
I'd like to, well,
This would be very disruptive to throw.
it probably would,
to
yeah.
throw in at this last one.
The only part I like to do in this cycle is maybe we fund 75% of what the departments ask for. And then,
But who takes the 75%?
well, that's us. But
Well, animal control's gotta be a go.
we gotta
I mean,
do
there's
that.
no question about that one. We've got to get the state off. So everybody good with that one?
Why, can I ask why we're now all of a sudden doing an arbitrary 75% cut net this late in? I mean, I was all on board for your general process, but that seems like a really last minute cut to 70, down to 75% for the rest.
And it may not have to be 75. I was trying to cut that $5.6 million spending
Why? That's,
Just-
I'm asking why.
just to cut and save, because we dipped in it for 830. I was trying to even the playing field a little bit. I don't have to go with that. That was just an idea. I mean, we can go right down the
We
list.
dipped in it for 830?
Huh?
You said we dipped in it for 830?
That's what it looks like. But actually, I say dipped in it. We actually bought stuff that can be bought out of CIP. Is actually tangible equipment.
The reason I ask this is we've got effectively a balanced budget without tax increases. So what are we trying to achieve in just cutting more?
This is, I guess it's what we do. Judge.
But that's,
I do realize we do.
do it. That's exactly why we get criticized.
I can live with that. We do have a balanced budget, and I'm proud we have a balanced budget.
Maybe.
But I was just trying to
I would
cut a little
prefer,
bit off.
I think Todd and I are on the same page. I would prefer to push rather than going in and making adjustments like that. At what feels to be the last minute for me on that, I would prefer where Todd with his maybe is going of like, keep pushing on things like, do we actually understand what's in that 830 number? You know, let's get confident in what's still in there before we're just making more changes. And
I can go.
I was totally on board with your philosophies on the future piece. Here, please hear me on that. Another reason that I worry on the cuts on that is, while philosophically I'm totally behind on what you said for the future years ones, I think we still have a problem of we're not able to keep pace with the needs that the county has going forward. So even at that 4 million, whichever version of the number you want to use, I mean, again, look at what we're doing. These aren't actually capital, other than the animal shelter. They're not really capital improvements.
They're more maintenance.
That's exactly the point. They're maintenance. All we keep doing is taking the true capital improvements and pushing them forward every single year. So, you know, things like actually doing a sports, you know, a sports complex, actually doing a cafeteria, you know, school club, whatever they may be. We just push the big items, push. We walk in past the dilapidated and we build them every single day. I'm going to get on board with advancing this forward for public hearing, et cetera. But we're not we're not actually building a budget that makes us progress for the future. We're just maintaining. And until, I think, rather than continuing to cut arbitrarily, we need the next step is to look at where are we gonna start getting ahead of things? I
Let
don't
me,
wanna cut them on maintenance. You're
let me-
exactly right. These
let
are
me- let me-
maintenance. If we cut them, that's what we cut.
let me rephrase my statement. If we go a different route on CIP and we figure out how much money we want to spend on currently what we see in CIP, would that money be better spent as putting in a department maintenance budget? Still the same amount of money, and actually actually use CIP funds for something that is actually a capital improvements.
Maintenance should be included in each department's budget. And I think it's something the county's lacked on forever is maintenance of everything.
Okay,
I mean, everybody should be maintaining their own buildings. I mean,
But they can't do it on the current budget. The problem is, I don't think they can do it on the current budget.
without us dipping into the CIP funds.
yes, that's the problem.
So I think yes, I think you should get to a point you say, this isn't acceptable in CIP anymore.
Yes, so
But
that,
you're not gonna be able to just cut it on CIP and not increase their departmental. You're gonna
Yeah,
have to
I
be
agree.
willing to increase their, say, we're gonna cut it out, totally make up numbers. Let's say we reduced CIP by 50%, and that amount equaled X. I wouldn't take that whole 50% then and shift it into departmental budgets. Reduce that by another 20-30% or something, take a portion of that, push it back in, because they shouldn't need it they shouldn't need it the first year and every year. Take a portion of that and say, now ongoing, we'll increase departmental budgets, by this amount, because I think we just have to give them something more to
For
be able to do,
For
to be able
maintenance.
to do maintenance. But then say, because you got this, you're not getting, and let's give them specific examples. You're not getting things like, I don't want to pick people with this, because this is what they've been trained to do so far. They're not messing up. They're doing what we told them to do.
Mhm.
Would you like carry over for that maintenance line, or that would be?
Well, I should discuss that. Sorry, Coach. I think we should be discussing carryovers more. If for some reason carryover got a really, really bad name, I think I know why, but let's not argue the past. If this is your personal budget and you didn't spend money in a given month, quarter, etc., you wouldn't just pretend the money was. You wouldn't just say, "Well, it's gone. I can never spend it." You would say, "Yeah, I underspent. What do I want to do with that
I
money?
can fix something.
What do I want to do with that money now?" Like, I think we should incentivize people to spend under, and then come back to us and say, like, there is an actual process for requests. It's not automatic. You're going to get to care. Like, what is it, etc. We're not incentivizing them because they just lose the money, and then it doesn't really. What does it do for anybody?
So I guess,
Maintenance is part of running the business.
I agree.
That is part of the business, keeping your equipment running. Because when you do that, you deduct it off your taxes. But when you add stuff to that, that's an improvement.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna have to do maintenance on that also down the road. It's really a different ballgame altogether. I mean, we got one school thing right here that really jumped out to me. Foundation repair on an elementary school. If you don't get that foundation straight, you're setting yourself up for a disaster down the road.
Yeah.
And, that was one right here that jumped out on me. They want to pave a parking lot and all, well, they can get by not paving the parking lot, but that foundation needs to be fixed.
So I guess what I'm hearing, next year's cycle, maybe staff can work on as far as maintenance stuff, go in the maintenance budget of everybody's budget.
Yeah,
And let the departments figure out what the maintenance is. And then somebody come up with a list of what is considered an improvement. lights on a ball field, that's an improvement, I would think.
Yeah, increase the.
Paving a parking lot, that would be an improvement.
It's not clear always whether these are first time pavings or, well, I guess they did resurface.
Yeah. So I'm hearing it's worth staff putting some time and clarify. Okay, then
While we're talking about maintenance, I don't know if it's something that's researchable too. Between the sheriffs and Daryl and all that, we probably have 60 or 70 vehicles. Would we be money ahead to have our own mechanic or something to service the stuff instead of paying outside entities to do it? But we got a shop right there, for it was empty. We could have our own mechanic that could do our own service. I just didn't know, I don't know how much we're spending in maintenance. Would we be money ahead to have our own?
Look at creative solution.
Yeah.
Well, that's yes and no. What the technology changing as fast as it is, that mechanic, he's got to constantly stay in school to keep up
Yeah.
with it, where the dealership is required to have.
I think we could get some input from Daryl, because they do maintenance, general maintenance on staff vehicles, not the sheriff's office. And we could get, it sounds like that's gonna be a part of maintenance and CIP. It looks like that process is probably gonna get rewritten some type of way with next year's process, so that's something we can talk about at a later date.
Why is the foundation for the school not on this list?
On this one here.
Yeah, but why is it not on
Right
this?
here.
Why not here?
I don't know. It's 332,580 on this one.
But it's not on this list.
So that exact amount,
That's what.
I know, but they're just gonna help. That exact amount is
It's
what listed
resurfacing.
as track resurfacing.
Resurfacing, yeah. So I don't know.
I mean, foundation was
like- Because it's not-
I wonder if it was labeled wrong.
I don't know.
I don't see track resurfacing here.
You know, it was a foundation repair on what is now the
Which sheet?
the middle school.
This one.
Because both of these have that 332 as track
Yeah.
both of, sorry, I'm looking at these.
But it's not on anything else.
The 332 for the page that Dexter had.
Uh-huh.
It's the school paging bus SB and MS lots. I don't know why it's labeled as foundation under the.
No, the lots is above that. School paving, bus, SB and MS lots. That's 121,900. This is foundation repair elementary school, 332,580, but it's not on this list.
I think that was,
That list is right. I think there's an error on that slide.
This one,
This.
yes,
Yes, I think there's an error on this one because everywhere else lists that as
this is the track.
track
That's
resurfacing.
right.
I'll share that with Juan.
You see where you see where we're talking
I
about
see
that?
where it is right here.
'Cause I mean, that was scary. That's,
And I agree.
That's a
with
little
you.
spooky.
That was- but
if
it's
you got a
just-
foundation that's an issue and we don't even have it here, it should be the number one priority.
that was probably something that kind of ghosted in there from over the years, because I remember a foundation repair on the elementary school.
Yeah, but it's
I
been fixed for 10 years.
Number or something.
Yeah,
Me,
when I seen that, that's got to be fixed.
I agree with Dexter completely on the, the clear difference between an improvement versus the maintenance. I think we also though, and we don't need to solve it tonight. I think it goes to your point, David, of asked the staff to work on this. I think there's some degree of improvements. We need to figure out there's a line of improvement that says, well, those are minor enough improvements. You also still have to keep them in your own budgets,
Yeah.
You don't say every single improvement ends up having to go into CM, because the whole point is it's a capital increment. It's supposed to be things that are, the more to that, it's supposed to be capitalized, Bond gets into the finance part of this. You're supposed to be able to depreciate these things over years because it's a capital investment.
As assets.
Exactly. Many of these things are not. They're not in their assets. And so we'll have to find the right balance between, fine, it's not maintenance. but
Maintenance, you
it's
can't
not a-
see it, more or less day to day. A capital improvement, you can ride by and say, look over there, that's an improvement.
Right. But and then there's something under it that goes, you can still see it, but it's not major enough that you're gonna go, wow.
I'll use Parks and Recs for an example. Replacing fitness equipment. That ought to be in his budget. He shouldn't have to come here
Oh, I agree.
and to buy 2 treadmills. He gets a good deal on them. Somebody's going out of business, so.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll-
Can we? Double digit? Yes. Sorry, I just asked one more question. Pawn slash Eric slash. I'm gonna, so I'm gonna go back to that 53,000. Sorry. What's that amount for volunteer fire department? 53,000.
It's on this sheet.
I know, well, I've got the same reduction right here.
Equipment.
Yeah, 53,221. Can I get some additional follow-up? Can I get the details sent to me on that? Because Kent's not aware of what it is, and I'm getting a lot of people from the fire department saying they don't know what it is either. And so if neither one of them, neither the fire department nor Kent know what it is,
It's a pretty good chance that is a Department of Fire programs grant. And we get it every year.
fine, but that makes it really hard for me to explain.
I know, get it from them, but
If those two groups don't know what it is, that makes it hard for us to explain.
Yeah.
I'm not questioning it. I just need the facts sent so I can that easy explanation. Okay.
all right,
Can I just comment real quick on the CIP discussion?
sure.
First off, I enjoyed y'all's discussion on that. I think those were some good ideas, and that's one of the things over the next, 12 months, this time next year, throughout the budget process, I'll be looking at the CIP process and working with the staff to come up with some ways to get them the money that they need so they can take care of, like you said, more of these smaller maintenance items, but also making it more of a streamlined process for y'all. So, anyways, look forward to working with the staff and appreciate the discussion tonight on that. So that's definitely something I'll be reviewing for the next 6 to 12 months.
Okay. All right. Brings us to the assessors. That was put on the agenda. Assessor's office. Do you want to lead this one off?
I don't see where you don't have an option, basically. I mean, we were told that Warren and Pearson were all bought out by that one conglomerate.
Okay.
I gotta look at the add to that, and I'll know more probably Wednesday morning. But the CRC is toying with the idea of having assessor work through the CRC, excuse me. And that would be based on his use on how many counties are interested in using the assessor through them, because he'd be working technically for the county, but through the CRC. And he'd be available 365, 24/7. If 4 counties wanted out of the 7, then the cost to us will be 1/4. And I think that hopefully I get some more details this week. And it's something that they're working on this year, trying to get. And he'll be available, any member of that, and we are a member, so we pay our dues and belong to it. And that would be a pretty good thing if we can get this to work out, save us a pile of money, and we'll have our assessor basically at our calling when we need to.
I do like that concept.
Well, I don't know all the details. I can't answer all of that. They're working on it.
I do think that's a good concept to consider.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of where the small counties like ours, if we can pull things together broadly, I think that's where we get a lot of value. So many of our costs are high because we're all having to do them individually and we don't have enough
That's what we
value or need.
And I think 2 or 3, 4 counties, there 2 or 3, whatever, were very interested. And I told them we would be interested, but we need some more detail. And trying to work it out and all, like if 3 or 4 counties get it, I'm just saying, if I don't know the exact number, that, he would be ours once every 4 years regardless for the, to go through a whole assessment.
That's actually, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, what are they gonna
But
make
he
it?
would be there if an emergency come up, we just say, hey, we need him for a day or 2 to figure something out.
Gotcha.
When are they gonna make a decision on this?
Working with.
So you don't know when?
No, I don't know when, but it's in the process.
Well, I think you ought to fund it. and let's just get ready. I mean, we're gonna have to do something eventually.
I told them that we would be interested in it, but we had to have some more input.
Yeah.
And they said, good, I'm glad you told us that.
Don't say funded yet. You get a price. You don't like writing a blank check.
Yeah. Well, you know what it is. You should have it too.
I'm talking about
Everybody's got
through
it.
the CRC.
No, I'm talking about what we were fulfilled, what
Yeah,
Mary Beth gave us. You know what it would cost.
yeah.
If that doesn't work out,
Okay.
Some locale, this is already being used in some areas.
yeah,
Yeah, they share their assessment.
I think, Eric, you had some,
It's no different.
Some
If you don't have a
information
con-
with-
It's essentially a contract still. You have to write a contract with them. It's just where the contract sits.
And they got the headache of getting him because he works for them, and if we don't like it, then we are actually one of the owners, so would up and say, hey, we got a problem here, let's demonstrate out.
I think you actually had some experience working with a regional council on something like that.
Yeah, I believe our regional former planning district commission where I was in the Middle Peninsula, they explored an option like this and did this, and it seemed to be received positively. So we wouldn't be the only ones doing something like this.
Okay.
Worth considering.
All right, thank you, sir. All right. Any more?
Can I just agree with Todd? Can I agree with Todd in one little bit? I think there's no doubt we have to do something going forward. I'm not in favor of adding a certain amount to the budget now. I think we're really at hopefully the end of this budget cycle. Yes, we have options and information being presented. I think we need to actively look at options and considerations going forward, but I think we need to be diligent about it and look through all of those versus just jump into something. And I think we've got multiple options out on the table then.
And
There's no doubt we have to do something going forward. But even in the information that we got from Mary Beth, there's at least 3 different variations and options within that. I feel like we're quite a ways still from being able to figure out where is best for Amelia.
But if CRC gets this thing off the ground, I would assume we could allocate money from the CIP funds or somewhere to, if it was such a good deal, they wanted to start it, say in June, and we got on
Right. I
board,
mean,
we could find the funds.
this is the thing, the budget is a plan at a point in time. That's why we have allocations and people come to us for appropriations and others. We can adjust over time.
Okay. All right. All right, the reserve fire truck, Benji, you had this on the agenda?
Well, yeah. So there's a thought, I know we're talking about getting 3 full-time crews, the best way to say it, for the fire and rescue. So I know there's some animosity between the initial changeover. It may not feel so good with the volunteers, paid staff, and, since it's a new concept. So I was talking to one of the chiefs and Kent, and what Amelia has an extra truck, a reserve truck, but right now it's not equipped. So my thought was, and this isn't my world, but my thought was, basic concept, we can hone it out, is we'll pull that truck, equip it, put it up here, centrally located in town. So let's just say we have the 3 crews. All right. So the rescue squad is the only place that the 3 crews can sleep. None of the firehouses are equipped for it. So they can be out in the county during the day, but they all have to come back there at night. And my thought was, like I said, this we worked on, let's just say we have our 3 full-time crews. Well, in order for this to work, let's just say C-Day they have to run the fire truck just to comply with everything. So let's just say we wanted to have A-Day and B-Day, say, at 2 ends of the county. C would always be in-house centrally located with this truck that we're going to equip to where they will have their own truck
there with them. They don't have to move their equipment to all the different stations and we move them out throughout the day. So, let's just say we wanted 2 centrally located crews. Or let's go with the first option. Say we had rescue down in Manborough and rescue over in Painful or whatever, down in Shul or whatever. In theory, if we keep the fire truck centrally located, it would go to all the calls. But at the same time, we don't have to run this fire truck all over the place. The rescue units would be moving around. They would basically kind of be like third on call, but at the same time, during the day, we already have Mr. Barry, which would be like the quick rescue crew. So we basically have 2 crews centrally located in the town. And then a lot of the nights we have the volunteer staff. So we would still have 2 crews in town, but we'd also have 2 crews on the outskirts of the county. Am I making sense here? So, go ahead.
Well, you asked if you're making sense. Are you discussing this with Kent?
Yes.
Okay, because that's gonna be my answer to anything to say.
Yep. And Mr. Sesterac was with me and Kent, and we spent several hours.
Well, that's the thought.
Yeah.
That was gonna follow. And then where does it go?
Yes. Is he
Fire,
got the truck?
fire department and Kent's organization are good.
Okay. So it would cost a little bit more money to fully equip this truck. And if we can't find it, maybe the fire department may have the money. I don't know, but equipping this truck and getting it road ready is a whole lot cheaper than buying a whole new truck. Plus, would be proactive. This truck would still be a reserve truck for the volunteer, if need be. But the nice thing about this design is, even say Dave is cool with the fire and rescue using their equipment, and another company doesn't feel real comfortable with it, they don't have to worry about it. They already have their own truck. It's still kind of divided. The volunteers are separate from the paid. There's not really intermingling, but if David says, hey, I don't care that the squad that sits at my house runs my equipment, they can train them on whatever, that's on them. But this one truck would be, let's just say, back in better words, Company 6 would be located at the squad house. Because it's on the main road, it's centrally located. And I'll just stop there. Y'all got any questions? Am I making any sense?
It's more detailed than but I'm not, that's not my ever expertise. And I, like I said, I trust your work with the right people.
Great.
Okay. So,
That's why we divide and conquer.
I think we need to have Ken look there on that. That's a little bit-
so for a little over $100,000, we can have this other truck fully equipped and EMS ready with all the equipment, like a Chesterfield fire truck, ready to go, and would be the only unit like that in the county. Am I saying that right, Mr. Sesterac?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so,
And it's staying here in the village?
yes, all right, yes, it doesn't sound right, but if there's literally 2 units on each end of the county, that we have an empty bay at the squad house anyway. In my mind, that one bay could be sitting at the squad house where the fire truck sits anyway. The 2
What
units,
happens when they come back to here?
we mean at night, plug them in outside. And then the one that goes out first would be the one that's still in the house. Say it's 20 degrees. That one pulls out, the one that's sitting outside will back in there and get warmed up. I mean, they're sitting outside all day anyway.
You already have this truck?
It's a truck, yes, but it's not.
How old is it?
It's a 95.
The 95.
And it's fully operational.
It's his station.
Station with that.
Yours?
Yeah.
Mine?
Yeah.
I don't recall seeing one sitting there.
That's your man.
Okay.
It's in the spare bay.
Huh?
It's in the spare bay.
Oh, is that what it is?
I've got my opinions on it. I'm not gonna get into those, but I'd listen to Kent and the fire board and let them come up with a recommendation and go
Find
from
your
there.
money too.
Do what?
Find your money too.
I think in
And
the
then
near
bring it back
future,
to
we're gonna be adding another station anyway. What I'm saying.
Kent and them will tell us that.
Very good.
All right. Well, it's-
I would say keep working with Kent.
Yeah.
And come up with a plan and
Do you have anything you'd like? to
bring it to the fire board.
For me, just trying to come up with a concept where two groups that traditionally have never worked together in this county could slowly mingle together. And I have experience in the military being active in reserve. And in the military, there is a buddy of pairs, like it or not, paid versus volunteers. Traditionally, paid people have a history of figuring they're better, there's no pay. And on the volunteer side, it's gonna be the same buddy of pairs. And to eliminate a lot of that, having their own vehicle initially, I'm selling the point to my volunteers that at 2 o'clock in the morning, we get toned out for smoke alarm chirping and somebody forgot to check the batteries. If I can convince my people that, hey, we got a paid crew in town with their own engine, they get to run that call so you can get through the night sleeping so you can go to work in the morning. That'd be a plus for them to easily accept the combined forces.
Okay.
And
Well,
so I'm sorry, I was on board until that comment though. So I have a little problem with this whole, with their own unit. The money came from the same place regardless. It's the citizens' money.
My concern is, okay, say they come to Station 4, and this is part of my problem that I have right now, is none of the details have been worked out exactly how this thing's gonna work.
Well, sure, we haven't had but a couple of weeks.
But if they come to company 4 as fire, one of my questions is, okay, there's a coal and company, Briggs area, company 2's area. Do they respond? If they respond, they take the truck out of company 4's area. And company 4 gets called in their area for first 2. We won't have our engine there to respond to our call. So this way here, if the paid people have their own initial truck, they could be wherever, and the other stations don't lose their main piece of apparatus. Because I would think we'd want somebody that's being paid to run the fire trucks. And they're not gonna be, you really want to respond from.
well, Bob, I'm gonna say this right here in public. I want the volunteers to run as many calls as they can.
And I feel like there was
Every call they can run, if that paid guy stays at your station and cuts your grass while you run the alarm, I am more than happy for the volunteers to run every call in the county they can run.
Well, I think a lot of this, just this initial transition, I'm sure there was a little bit of heartburn when the squad had to start sharing the house. 2 years from now, this is probably a null and void conversation.
Yeah, but now are we spending the $100,000 wisely or not?
Yeah, because we're being proactive, because if, say, engine 1 is totaled and wrecked and run over and the equipment's destroyed, we don't have a backup truck. We have an engine that runs, but without the equipment.
Well,
We're actually going to have
Well,
one.
what I just heard is that wouldn't work anyway because they're unwilling to share.
No, it'll still be the backup truck.
And that the assumption was that the paid were going to take the primary and main vehicle. Where that was never presented to us before, they would take the primary. I'm more concerned the more this goes on. I was very on board. You heard me. The more this goes on, it sounds like spend $100,000 because people can't get along and don't want to share. So I'm now going to be really skeptical when this comes in and want to really understand every alternative that's been looked at of how we avoid spending $100,000.
You know, we just had a conversation about CIP and putting it to the department heads. Work with Kent and the fire board and come up with it.
What we're using one is, it looks like it's mostly.
What you need, Wayne?
I have a question, on this plan, Mitch Snyder or anybody, man. Who, if the page responds and
Wayne, there really isn't a plan. There's a concept of hiring people to do things, but there is no plan yet.
page people respond first, and then find out the fire's big enough that they need others, who's in charge?
It's be the same rank structure it is right here in Amelia right now. A chief 40, a chief 50, chief 10, 20, officer, whoever, the same protocols that are happening right now would be the same protocols would happen then. But all that's gotta be worked out.
Yeah, sure.
It's like everything else, you gotta find the money first. All right. Brings us to outstanding budget items. Anybody got anything outstanding?
Well, I mean, I think we just listed, I mean, Dawn knows the stuff she's gonna send us.
Okay.
I told you I'm not gonna hold it out, but I don't think this puts us forward enough.
All right, do we need
We are
another work?
better than we were before, so I consider that progress.
Are we thinking, I'm sure we're thinking another workshop
That's what it looks
and
like.
give Pond time to answer some questions?
If we can get some information.
Y'all want to do a workshop next week? This week's kind of booked though. We got this, we got the planning commission, board meeting.
Got planning commission next Monday night, don't
I
you?
got that next Monday night. Are you in town next week?
But how are we moving forward?
Well, you gotta tell me. We gotta give staff some direction. We all sent questions to Pond and staff.
Well, I mean, last week y'all said all it needed was to know what we were gonna do for the tax rates. So are our questions gonna change that? I think it's.
Well, I don't know, but this first budget that we received did not include the 1.5% bonus supposedly, correct?
Not universal. It was so.
Okay. But now this new one does.
Okay.
Correctly. Am I correct?
Right?
Okay. So if that's the case, then why didn't, and I'm just picking one right now, building inspection, why didn't it go up? It's the exact same amount as it was last time. I'm not comfortable with the numbers that we have. I'm just not,
Are you comfortable with the top numbers?
no.
Oh, but it would.
That's right. It gets them all.
Would make a difference.
It gets them all.
You're right. Sorry, I was trying to think out loud.
Yeah.
What did change?
That's just one. So why didn't it change? So
Can we?
she's gone.
She's still there. She just. That's a good one though. Can we ask her, because she did address that in question, for the Pond, are you still there?
Environmental services didn't change.
I'm still here.
Can you answer the question that we're talking about on the 1.5%
It didn't change.
bonus? How come the department budgets didn't increase with the 1.5%?
1.5%. Do you mind repeating the question again, please?
The question is, one budget we got didn't have the 1.5% bonus. The second one did, but the department request,
Didn't
they
change.
didn't change.
Actually, they did change. I incorporated the 1.5% bonus of sheriff, and then 2 days ago, I incorporated the rest for all state-funded positions for the collected total of 43,000 and some change.
So you're only doing state funded positions.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, but that's not.
The directive that I received from the combo, unless you wanted everyone to be included, I can do so. I just need a directive.
Okay.
So that's. We haven't given you that feedback, but our consistent advice or consistent direction amongst ourselves in the past has been not to treat people different, whether they're comp board funded or not. So I do think we need to make a decision on that. And I don't think it's good to say, oh, you happen to be comp board funded, so you get a 1.5% bonus. You're not, you don't get a bonus. You're doing the, you know.
I thought we decided.
I thought we had two, but
I did
apparently
too. It didn't get to her apparently. That's why I was asking.
Everybody's
Because that affects all the numbers.
I think that,
I thought that.
I think that was didn't mean to cut you off. I think that was the 3%. This came up after that part of the discussion. So we want Pond and staff to figure out the 1.5%
Right.
Across the board.
across the board, what that figure is and see and show the increases.
Yeah.
Is that good, Pond?
Yes, okay,
addition to
let me
3%?
repeat the
Yeah.
ask. So I have to go
This is the
back,
problem.
anyone that did not receive 1.5% in the budget, I will make sure I calculate that and incorporate in the proposed budget. For our sheriff's office, any non-funded positions
What?
did receive 1.5% just for sheriff.
Right.
But for the rest of the departments, no.
That's what she did.
They're
That's
not-
right. That's right. And so to answer, sorry, Eric's got a question here too, just make sure it got confusing. So the 3% that we already dealt with, 3% is the salary increase.
That's right.
And they did, state funded that for just comp board positions. And yes, we made the decision, we wouldn't do that. It'd be everybody got the 3% regardless.
Yeah.
Then it was 1.5% bonus, not salary increase, bonus. And last version, that was only factored in across the board for sheriff's
Sheriff's
office. And then we realized
It's all.
the state didn't say just for sheriff's office, it was all comp board funded positions. So what she did this time is broaden it to all comp board funded, even not just sheriff, but we want it now 1.5% bonus. That's the difference, Eric, between the 3% is okay, sorry.
Yeah.
So now it's 1.5 bonus, all employees. We're picking up the part that the state does, wherever the state doesn't cover. Yeah.
And even on the partially funded, the partially funded.
The state doesn't fund.
Yeah, some positions are partially funded by the comp board, where others are 100%.
So everybody gets,
Yeah,
exactly right.
is that clear as mud? Eric?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
How about you, Vaughn?
I got it. I will incorporate
Because we're
those
changed down here.
All
for
right.
you for the
So
next
We're gonna
time.
have issues that we've got to get straight.
Yeah, it'll be all, yeah, we'll be out of balance then.
We're gonna be in the red.
Yeah. Yeah.
She said.
Because it's gonna be.
Question I have, how
Probably
shall
100.
we
We
fund
talking about,
the extra 1.5%?
She took the
I'll get you-
base, she said.
Yeah, it's gonna be about 100,000.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Should be. It's gonna be close.
The figure she gave us was like 43,000 from the comp board.
That's right.
Well, they fund less
usually-
than half of our positions.
So less than,
Yeah.
I thought it was right at half. Okay, well, we don't know till she
So, I
puts the
mean,
numbers on it.
Yeah.
Well, it's about half in departments that have comp funding. But like the departments he was picking out, for example, were like, in Jerry Wayne's, I was like, there's no comp board funded
That's right.
in some of those.
Yep.
So we'll have bigger than 43. So I think you're right. We'll probably have 1 to 125%. And magnitude of the whole budget, it's small, but it's not. My theory, you didn't like it last time, and I'm just saying, my theory is you're gonna need like a penny tax increase or something like that, if we just keep nipping away at this, and just trying to find the pennies within the budget, it's hard. But if we just do very small increases that are negligible to the citizens over time, it's much more manageable. But let's see what it comes back as. Where maybe find some other savings somewhere else.
Fine.
What day you gonna do a meeting?
What, that's what we were all looking at.
Yeah.
Paul, are you good with getting us an answer on that? Don't want to forget you there.
Yes.
Before we wrap up, I just want to jot down all the follow-ups we're looking for, just that way we can get them in one concise, message for you guys.
Okay.
So that was one of them, was the 1.5 bonus. The other one was the 800 some odd thousand in the CIP. Y'all wanted a breakdown
Breakdown.
of that number. And then was there anything else?
Yeah, sorry, I thought y'all were taking notes. I didn't chart them all. I know one thing we had said is we need the translation that she was talking about between of all of the, what we call that category of stuff. All of the outside organization.
Yeah.
What the name we call the organization and then what budget lines they show up in.
Like a crosswalk.
Yeah, good word for it.
Yeah.
Nice.
She said it.
We need
Okay.
to answer to the 8:30 in the CIP.
Yeah,
The breakdown of that was all entailed in that.
You had that one.
yeah, he said that, but that's good.
Okay.
Eric, you didn't tell us you was left-handed.
Change that.
Is that good as bad?
Yeah. My wife.
They're gonna hold that against
What y'all look like next week? Wednesday night?
You get a board meeting Wednesday. No, it's not. I'm sorry.
He said your meeting's on the 28th.
Wake up now.
What meeting?
What meeting?
Um,
The comprehensive plan is on the 24th at 10 a.m. So anything but that would be.
Oh,
Say it was on the 28th.
The 28th is planning commission at 7 p.m.
oh, it was, yeah. Do y'all want to do another workshop at nighttime or do y'all want to do it?
Yes.
Okay, 6 o'clock work? How about the 23rd? Go ahead.
Maybe do them later. My daughter has a senior banquet that night. Is there any chance we can do 7 o'clock? If we could go 7 o'clock once I get.
That's even better for me.
More for banquet.
That's fine.
Do you want to do it on Tuesday night?
no, I don't want to do it.
No, I'm fine with the 23rd. It's just at the high school. I think we do 7. I'll get
Disagreeable.
be in good shape.
We can bump it to the Tuesday night and you can spend all night with it.
Well, then I miss Crossroads.
Okay.
He's got planning commission.
No, planning commission not till the 28th. We could do next Monday night, the 21st.
Do Monday at 7?
Oh, Ken?
Oh, I'm actually free Monday. I thought you.
I thought 7 anyway, so we can.
I'm not free Monday. I'm just kidding. I told y'all, you just pick a date. I'll be there.
Monday at 7?
All right,
At 7 p.m.
yes, yes.
Well, we can come Sunday after Easter sunrise
Ain't
services.
having.
Party.
You make a continued motion.
No, I'd rather,
What you?
I'm gonna close this meeting and we'll continue the board meeting, just so they don't,
Oh, that's fine. I just offered free.
yeah, so if we're set to, we're,
Do you want to go with the tax rate or are we waiting on that too?
I'm sorry. You go ahead. You guys go ahead first. I had something else I was going to ask. But
you go ahead. Yeah.
My question was about the school system, and I remember on a pre-conference call with Clarence, we talked about. I don't know if we're allowed to make a motion at this meeting or the upcoming meeting, but because we didn't really change anything with the school operational budget, giving them the go-ahead for them to be able to send out the contracts. And just that way we can let them off the hook, if you will. We discussed that in the pre-conference, but I just wanted to bring that up at the end of, but it's whatever y'all are comfortable with.
I would prefer to do it Wednesday night, if we're gonna do it, if the board chooses to do it. I'd rather,
So like this coming Wednesday night.
if the board is feel comfortable with that.
I don't know that I've been looped in this discussion, so I don't know what we're talking about.
Well, they won't ask what the guarantee was from the state, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought we all
Yeah.
figured that was.
So we're just giving them the go-ahead to
Yeah.
go with
Is
that.
that gonna-
So I would say have that, and we'll add it to the agenda Wednesday night,
Okay.
and we'll make that appropriate, or that,
Check it
we'll
out.
take that action. And then then we'll move on with the rest of it.
Okay. All right.
But as far as the tax rates, do we want to get the process started with advertising so we can get kind of on a plane to having a budget second week of May?
Well, we're all going to move forward with meals tax, correct?
Yes.
So that will be some revenue that we bring in, like if we go
Thought we
January.
were, I mean, that was y'all were telling me.
Oops, I would say, have we had a discussion about this?
Well,
We
we've
only
been
took it-
postponing it along, never said we're not going to do it. But if we do the meals tax, we could pick up some revenue the last half of the budget cycle, correct?
Pick up that 1.5%.
Well, we have not allocated people, so there's no way to implement it. Remember that.
We're working towards that. I'm just asking, I'm just looking in my head right now to look for some revenue is what I was doing.
Make a flashlight.
So, yeah, no, it'll shine right through. Blind Joseph.
Well, another thing we need to look at is, and I had a phone call right before I came up here about that, is the senior discount.
Elderly tax.
Elderly tax.
Mhm.
And I think Dana and I talked about it, 10% increase, which is $3,000
On the limit
on the limit.
and see where we fall in.
Yeah.
That's something we talked about.
Yeah, and,
Oh, I'm already working on the ordinance draft to bring back.
yeah, and we see how every year we can increase it so much every year. Try to make these older folks happy. But we gotta look at it.
Preparing for you.
Oh,
He's already there.
Well, we do gotta have another workshop, because that's a couple of things we will have to talk about. Do we feel comfortable advertising these tax rates? To get us, that would, if we went with the calendar dates, that would put us at a possible adoption around the middle of May.
What's the deadline?
Deadline is July 31st, but we try to,
The only thing that pushes.
Is the school.
To try is the school. Take the school off the push in Wednesday, and then we're not in a hurry at all.
We all depend, we're comfortable with that, so
I agree.
Yeah, I don't have an issue with the schools.
I don't see why we.
At all.
I don't see why we need to hurry.
okay. All right, just asking.
Well, I think they play ball.
Trying to keep us on
My opinion, Terry.
some type of timeline. We're good.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, it depends.
We just talked about three things that would make the budget revenue either decrease or expenses go up.
Yeah.
I find it hard to advertise something that locks us in.
yeah, because it can only go down at that point, can't go up.
That's right.
That was on my list to ask. I asked, I'm fine.
So
All right. Anything else?
We doing 7 o'clock Monday.
I think that's what we said, 7:00
Sure,
Monday,
But he's going to continue it off of
Yeah.
Wednesday night.
April 21st,
a week from today.
week from today.
Mhm.
Okay?
Yep.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
All right, motion on the floor to adjourn. All in favor, say aye, raise your hand. All right.
You're out, Ashley? We're out.